Hi everyone, it's Claire here, and today's video is going to be about PUL. So whether you are looking to buy some pads with PUL in, or you are thinking of making pads with PUL, hopefully this video will give you some more information, some tips and hints, pros and cons sort of thing. So let's start with what it is. PUL stands for polyurethane laminate, which was created for the medical healthcare industry. It is a waterproof but fully breathable fabric that can be washed on temperatures up to 60 degrees comfortably and popped in the tumble dryer. It then got taken on by the cloth nappy industry and makers because it was very popular as a waterproof but breathable layer in the nappies, and then the cloth pad community. So you will see the name thrown about quite a bit when it comes to cloth pads. So if we have a look at it, as you can see, it is very thin, like so. One side is this kind of satiny feeling matte fabric side, and the other side is a more plasticky looking shiny side. It is made of polyester. Now basically when this goes in your pads, it will go shiny side up towards the body and fabricy side out on like towards the underwear. You can use PUL two ways in your cloth pads: as a hidden layer, which is what I have as I'm sensitive to polyester if it touches my skin. So I have it hidden within my pads, and then I have an alternative backer. One of the benefits of this is it completely opens up your backer option and allows you to make thinner pads. So you can have fabrics such as woven cotton, flannel, cotton cord, polycord as your backing fabric instead of fleece, which tends to be thicker. Or you can have it as the actual backer to the pads itself. You can buy white like this, or you can buy patterned PUL. So on the bit that we'll be showing, there's flowers, animals, all sorts of things you can get pattern wise, plain colours, that sort of thing if you do want it as your backer. The real pros of this fabric is that it is a waterproof fabric. You are not going to leak through this if it is in the entirety of your pad. Now, I love it for that reason, as I have a really heavy flow and I find it very, very breathable. I don't get warm with it at all. Another pro is price. It is not exceptionally expensive. So even if you are on a tight budget and you're actually upcycling fabrics from home, but you're worried about leaking because maybe you don't have any fleece at home that is water repellent, then a small investment in some PUL can really bolster your upcycled pads. So it's pretty much your only cost. Or if you are investing in other things such as Zorb, etc., you can add something like this to your order. It's pretty easy to get hold of, which is definitely a benefit. Here in the UK, you can get it on eBay from several fabric stores online. In the US, I know that Joann's stocks it, and I think that's a pretty big chain over there. And I think it is pretty readily available for most countries from what I've heard. So it's pretty easy to get hold of. Now, a few notes on if you are planning to sew with PUL. Some people find it quite hard to sew with and say it is quite slippy. Now, for that, I would highly recommend quilting clips. This also has the benefit of not piercing the PUL, because if you pierce the PUL or put a hole or a tear in it, obviously it's going to leak. Now you can pin without any problems whatsoever, but I would recommend stay in your 1/4 inch seam allowance with your pinning. So then when it's topped and turned and then you top stitch it, that's all in that tiny outer area and you've not affected the pad whatsoever. It will still be completely waterproof. So don't pin inside the pad area itself. Stick to that seam allowance. But as I was saying, if you don't want to pin or you're finding PUL hard to sew with, then you may want to consider these, which in the UK are called quilting clips. I'm not sure what they're called in the US, but I know they're pretty easily available. And I have seen something very similar actually in like places like WH Smith's and where you can buy like office supplies and stuff. So you may even be able to get them cheaper than buying them as quilting clips. They are quite wide once opened and have a very strong grip. So even if you're working with a thick ultra postpartum pad, these would open up and be able to hold that for you. They come in quite large packs, so you can really go around the whole outside. So they're great whether working with PUL or not, but they are particularly effective with PUL. Another thing, if you are finding it hard to sew with PUL, is to consider a walking foot. Now, the benefits of a walking foot is on your machine, I cannot think of the word right now, but on your machine, you have these little grippers on the base plate at the bottom that pulls the fabric through as you're sewing. When you get a walking foot, you have two at the top, so it's being pulled securely from both angles, and it helps the fabric go through at an even rate. It's great as well if you're a bit of a wonky stitcher and need a hand. So all in all, it is a great tool for cloth pad sewing, whether or not you are using PUL, but it's particularly helpful with PUL. So that is sewing with PUL. Some of the cons with PUL is if you use your PUL as a backer for your pads and don't do it hidden, then it can be quite slippery. So you will need to wear tight fitting, very snug underwear to prevent any movement. Some women find it perfectly fine. There are shops out there that's their standard backing for their pads, and many women find that great, but others don't like it and say that their pads move around. So it is a bit of trial and error with that as to what you find will suit you. Another con, which is again a personal thing with PUL, is some people find they don't think it's breathable. I think it really is the same as toppers and our cores. Everything is very individual. So if it's your first time sewing with PUL, perhaps purchase a fat quarter. It's only a couple of pounds, and try out one pad and see what you think. If you are going to purchase from a seller who has PUL included in their pads somehow, then maybe purchase one pad, try that, and then go back for more if you really like it. Another real note with sewing and buying, because I have seen sellers do this, I will show you on an exposed core because it just demonstrates it better. But often you see people in sewing groups and the occasional business say that they are saving money with their PUL by adding a layer of PUL just to the back of this core piece. Now, in my opinion, that's actually really wasting money because you're not making an effective pad with the actual qualities that we're trying to go for with the PUL here. Because if you bleed onto this side bit that's round here, now even in a turned and top stitch, I'm just showing you this because it demonstrates it perfectly, but with a turned and top stitch you will still have a gap in most designs around your core and obviously the wings. If you then bleed onto your wings or onto this side rim here, even just a little bit, if you have not got anything waterproof on the back and you are relying on your PUL, you are just going to leak through the pad. If you are using anti-peel or polar fleece, it will give you a bit of protection, but if you have a particularly heavy flow and that's why you're using PUL, then I really recommend that you use it for the whole of the pad. You are not using that much more PUL to cover out into your wings and the rest here, and it will give you complete protection. So that the only way you could leak is if you literally went off the pad itself. So that's just something to note when looking at sellers. And also if you are making yourself, check it is a full layer of PUL within the pad. I think I have covered everything that I wanted to about PUL. Yes, I've covered all the pros and cons. I think we're good. So I hope you have found this video helpful, and I have explained a bit more about PUL, its uses, its pros, its cons, and how to get around a few of the possible problems you could encounter. That's it from me, and I will speak to you all soon.